So as I'm walking back to the classroom, my first thoughts were, I bet I can get that stuff off my flash drive into my Google Drive. And so that's what I did first. And then that worked so quickly that all the stuff, you know, the array of folders on my desktop, I took every one of them to that drive right there. Everything off the H drive, I took to that drive right there. I got so excited that stuff in that file cabinet, I started scanning and putting in that drive right there. I keep this Google Drive as my master, and everything I do for KDE goes right there. That is a massive infrastructure of folders right there on that screen. My point to you is this. You have plenty of space, and if you put your stuff into your Google Drive, think about those snow days. How many times you've been at home and you're like, man, if I could just get that thing off my teacher computer back in the classroom. Or if I could just get that thing out of that file cabinet in my classroom. And you can't because there's snow, or you're just like, I didn't get in my car, go back up there to that building. Right? So how do you get that stuff in there? So before I show you, I need everybody in this room, raise your right hand. And repeat after me, I promise.
I promise
Not to do this.
not to do this
Until 6 o'clock. You know that little spinny beach ball of death you saw a minute ago? You think that was a spinny beach ball of death? Trying to pull up your drive? If we all try to do this, y'all got a bunch of stuff out there. And if we try to do this right now, it literally, I joked a minute ago and said we would suck the life out of the Wi-Fi for Knox County. You literally will take Knox County down. Not do that, right?
Yeah, don't use any ideas.
No, but they're over in that other room with my teammate. All right. In all seriousness, literally do this later, okay? But I'm going to show you what to do. And if you are like some of my 4th graders and 5th graders, and you can't keep your hand off that trackpad and off that keyboard, then sit on your hands for about 2 minutes so you don't touch it. I had the sweetest little assistant principal one day doing this, and all of a sudden we started chugging along. Everything was like trying to do this training, and finally, in the DTC, everybody was like going crazy, like, why is the Wi-Fi going down? And then she was like, I'm so sorry, I started moving all my stuff. I'm like, there you go. So seriously, don't do this. But let me just show you how simple it is. All right, so just, if you need to write this down, write it down.
I know, I'm trying to use my notes on my phone.
Anytime you do something new, where do you go?
Drive.
Anytime you do something, I'm already in my drive, so if I do something new, where do I go?
New.
New.
Yay.
Google doesn't make us think too hard, guys. Alright, so I'm going to go to new and watch. Just watch. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my file upload. So if I go to file upload, over here on the left-hand side are all the places that I would have stored things, like your desktop, your downloads, your H drive, your flash drive, wherever those things are, right? So I go over here, and let's say that I go to the desktop. Oh, yeah. Somebody say stuff on this one, though. Okay. So let's say I go over here to this desktop, and I'm going to go to the first thing on the list. I'm going to click on it one time. I turn it blue. Can you see that it's blue? Here's where the magic happens. Hit the shift key and your down arrow. There's not much on this one, but if I do that, it turns all files blue. And now that all the files are blue, I click open. And because I had that convert uploads check mark a second ago, it doesn't matter what those are. Google's going to convert them and drop them right here on the screen. Okay? Now, those were files, so like individual documents. But what if you already have folders out there? Like you have a folder on your desktop, or you have a folder on that flash drive, right? You can take folders, but here's where you go for that. You go to the new, and instead of a file upload, you go to the one right below it, and it says a folder upload. Now, it will only allow me, oh, Jack, I can take all Jackie's stuff right now. It will allow me to only take, that'd be funny. And then share it with everybody. It it will only allow me to take one folder at a time. Okay? You can take a bunch of documents, all the documents you want to at one time, but it'll only allow you to take one folder at a time, because what Google wants to make sure happens is that all of those files that you have inside that folder stay inside that folder. If you took multiple folders, you wouldn't want things to hop over to different folders and not be in the right one. Okay? So you can only take one folder at a time, but you can take multiple individual files at one time. Okay?
Now that's from the Google Drive.
No, that's from anywhere. That's from anywhere. See over here, whenever I clicked on New and I went to File Upload,
Right, but I'm saying you're on your Google Drive though. So
yes, yes. You have to have your Google Drive open, go to New, and then find your stuff and then pull it in. Okay? And because of that convert uploads, it doesn't matter what's out there. So I don't have to worry about taking individual things and worrying about it converting it or not. It's going to run it through the converter. Okay? And remember, it doesn't matter how much stuff you've got out there. If you've got videos, you know, anything like that, whatever you've got, dump it into your Google Drive. You've got a terabyte of space. You are not going to fill it up. On mine, with everything that I've got for every district in the state from 19 years of education, when I look at my space on my on that terabyte of space, it literally looks like a drop in the bucket. Okay? You've got plenty of space. Do it, because it's going to make your life so much easier, so that you can access it anytime, anywhere, on any device. You don't have to be stuck to your classroom.
you probably don't know what I did wrong, but I uploaded a bunch of folders at one time. I think I did it through File Upload. And, you know, I just left it. And I went back later when I was home and wanted to get in there, and the folders were there, but they was easy.
So did you shut it down and you went home?
Yeah.
That's your problem.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't shut down my computer.
Yeah.
And it said it was finished. I just worked with it.
Yeah.
But
If you
it's
close
so-
something out, then
So I
that,
could do file upload. I could go to my flash drive.
Yep.
I
Highlight all of
where I
them.
have retired finances. And I could upload that whole flash.
Absolutely.
I just did something. All the folders were there, so I
if you had closed a tab out or something while it was doing it, then you stopped that process of the upload. So that may have been, you may have just accidentally closed something out, and it just, forget it. Alright, so all of your stuff is right here, okay? Now, so let's make you create something. Alright? Alright, so I'm out here inside my Google Drive. Is everybody here at this screen? Awesome. Alright, so I want to make something new. So anytime I make something new, I go to New. Over here on the left-hand side, I've got several things that I can create. I can create a Google Doc, which is just like a Word document. Sheets, Excel, slides, PowerPoint. If I hit More, I've got all sorts of things that I can do. Okay? So, that's where you're going to go to create something new. Guys, I have a lot of teachers that'll say, I made something and I don't know where Google saved it. It saved it on that screen right there. It doesn't matter what you're making. Google is saving everything for you, and it is always going to be inside your Google Drive. If you make anything, it's always going to be inside your Google Drive. Now, look at this. If I go over here and I open up a folder, if I open up this folder, and I make something and I click New, then it's going to save it inside that folder. Okay? But if I don't want it inside a folder, I just need to be out at my drive. And then it's going to be somewhere down here, just in my drive, not inside a folder. But if you open a folder, it's going to be inside that folder when you create it. Okay? So whatever is open, and you hit New, that's where it's going to be stored. Alright? So I'm out of my drive. I'm going to click New, if you will also. Go down to the word Google Docs. It's going to open up something that looks like this. That looks just like a what? It does. It looks just like a Word document. Alright. Now, understand that every single thing that you can do in Word, you can do in Google. The tabs, that little ribbon at the top, it might be a little different in the location of where some of your tabs and the functions are, but everything you can do in Word, you can do in Google, okay? It's just a little bit, you know, it's one of those things, it's like, I'm just not used to it yet, and it feels a little weird, but all the stuff's there, okay? You can do it. What Google wants you to do first when you open up a Google Doc is what every good teacher asks their students to do first on a piece of paper, and that's what? Put your name on your paper, right? So I'm going to go up here to where it says Untitled Document, and that's where you put your name on your paper. Now listen for a second. How many of you are not high school teachers? So I can see, like, okay. How many of you are middle school? Elementary? Okay. All right, so elementary, this is probably not going to be as much for you because you don't have like first, second, third period. They don't change classes as often like they do at high school. But it is important to understand this. When you are asking your students to name their paper, think about a naming convention. This is key, guys. Your first year or two, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a big deal whenever you're having your students and you are creating things inside your Google Drive. But I can promise you, after using Google for a few years, it's going to become a huge deal because you're going to have a ton of papers. You're going to have a ton of assignments turned into you. And if you don't know how they're named, it's going to be a logistical nightmare when you go back and try to find it. For a student, let's think about a high school student as a freshman English teacher. Who are you? Freshman English teacher? Freshman English? So, freshman English teacher. She's having her students name their paper, but then they become a senior, then they graduate, and they go on, they're like, man, that paper that I wrote for Miss Griffith, I really wish I had that because I could write and use that for my English comp 101, right? But I can't remember what I named that thing, right? So think about a naming convention. Some schools, so this is something for you guys to think about. Some schools come up with a naming convention for the entire school building. So that as students are naming their paper, there's a consistency that's going to help you, but it's going to help them too. And I say that because what Google will start doing to documents and sheets and forms and slides and all that is alphanumeric organizing, okay? So some districts will ask a student to put their class period first in that box. Think about what that does. If it's going to alphanumeric organize, then if you open up all of these bazillion documents, all the ones, like first period, are going to be at the top. And then organize from that after your student's last name. So think about how organized that would be, help you and to help them, right? And then all your twos, second period would be next. And then last name, first name. So think about this for special ed. Who's my special ed people? Think about for special ed students. How many times do your students just get to the point where like, I don't know what the teacher wants me to do. I just don't even know how to get my name on the paper, right? So think about that. And you know what? You know what? You know who is to blame for that? You guys are. Not them. They are not to blame for that. That's not their fault. That's your fault. And here's why it's your fault. High school English. If a person's putting their name on the paper, like at the top right hand corner, what do you want to put on it? And then put that. High school math. What do you have math? Who's math? Math. What do you have to put on the paper? Okay, just the name. That's okay. I'm just saying there's a difference. What do you teach? What do you have to put on the paper? Did you hear that? Name, period, date, learning target. You had name, your name, class period, date. So the special ed teachers, how many of your students already lost? Most of them, right? A learning target, I don't know what a learning target is. Is that today? Huh?
I do like to put name, period, name.
Okay. But think about that, guys. Think about what you're asking your students to do, and they're like, heck, I can't even get past the name on the paper. I can't get to the assignment. I don't know how to name my paper. Huh. You guys are the ones that do that to them. So listen, guys. As frustrated as you all get when you're asked to put stuff on things, they're just trying to make it through the day. And you guys are the ones that are confusing them. So take that barrier away from them, please. Take the barrier away from them. And come up with some sort of consistency. If you want all that on the paper, give them away and make it consistent. If you want period, do that first. Last name, first name, learning target date, teacher, I don't care. But come up with something that is consistent so that when you and your students are trying to access this, they know what they got and where it is.
In classroom, the way when I have my students classroom, they usually click create and upload from there. So I hadn't thought about naming the meeting because it already brings it by the class.
Well, it does, but they're just going to create, but where's it going to take them to create?
Yeah, well, I know,
It
that's
takes
what,
them-
no,
yeah,
what I'm
it takes
saying
them
is
right
it
here.
already organizes for us in classroom. I had never thought about it
From the-
organizing
For the students, yeah. So think about these little nuances that are going to make your life easier, but it's also going to help your students. Because guys, as wonderful as you are, I can promise you right now that I did not leave my job for you all. I left my job for the students who are sitting in your classroom. My end game are the students in Knox County. My end game are the students in Pike County, and Paducah, and all 173 districts in this state. And I'm begging you to make it easier, not just for you, but more importantly for your students. Because what I'm worried about is what's going to happen to your kids whenever you graduate them. So I need you to be thinking about ways that it's going to make your students' lives easier. It's not just going to help you get organized, but it's going to help them make sense of what you're asking them to do. Okay? So, with that said, for today's purposes, we're going to put our name on our paper. And then I want you to go down into the body of that document, and I want everybody to type a sentence or two on your document. When you're finished typing your sentence or two, then hit File Save. There's not a save button. Okay? There is, that's a trick, but that's a trick.
Don't know how to use Google. Yes, I know.
There is not a file save, but for those of you who are not used to using Google, you need to understand that Google is saving for you every half of a second. You should. Every half of a second, guys, it is saving everything for you. Bless you. So you do not have to hit File Save. Look up at the top of your screen on your ribbon up there where like the file button is. You see right in the middle of that ribbon where it says all changes saved in Drive. Now keep your cursor down in your document and type another word or two. And what does it say now as you're typing? It is saving as you are typing. Okay? Now, this is going to be key for you guys because inevitably you are going to have some student that says, "Oh no, what happened to my document? Google didn't save it. They deleted it." No, they didn't, baby. Because Google doesn't delete anything. And here's the beauty of that. If they, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm yelling at your people. Oh, they're going to listen to So, for one thing, I'm not going to keep talking over you. You wouldn't allow your students to do that. And I'm not going to keep yelling over you. Clear? All right. The beauty of this is that Google is saving everything for you. Nothing is ever gone. And even if a student says it deleted it, they did not. You have to go into 3 very intentional steps to make a document be completely gone from Google. And I can promise you, I tell my students, like, 1 time, that's okay. That's an accident. 2 times, pretty sure you knew you were doing that. 3rd time, no, baby, you did that on purpose. Now you get to start all over. Okay? So if they're not going to delete it, Google's going to save everything for you every half of a second. Now, I'm going to show you 4 things inside this document. Understand that everything that I'm getting ready to show you, you can do in slides, you can do it in sheets, you can do it in forms, you can do it in all the Google applications. I'm only going to show it to you in Docs for the sake of time. But understand that all of these features are available in all of Google's applications. Okay? So the first thing I want to show you is the share button. And a lot of people get hung up on that because they think that if I'm going to put something out there on Google, everybody's going to see it. And the answer is absolutely not. We have people at KDE that all they try to do is hack. I mean, you hear about hackers all the time. You cannot break this. Okay? So beside the share button, there's a little padlock, which tells me that this document is mine and mine only until I decide to share it with somebody. All right? Now, if I want somebody to see this, I have to go up here to this share button and click on it. And when I do, I have 2 things that I can do with this document. The first one is tucked away a little bit, but it says get the shareable link. Now, I want you to think about this one with me for a second. Teachers use this a lot. Let's think about like a school newsletter or something that I want to put out on my teacher page. And in order to do that, I've got to get the address, the link, to hyperlink something, right? Let me close this out for a second. If I'm out here in this document, and I want to hyperlink this to the school website, to your school webpage, where do I go to get the address to hyperlink that document? So here's a little vocabulary lesson. This is called the omnibox. Y'all know that? That's called an omnibox. Okay? Is that what y'all talking about? Go up here and get that? Yeah. So I'm going to go up here and get this address right here in the omnibox, and I'm going to hyperlink that to the website. Right? It does that, right? Does it? So, here's the problem. How many of you have ever clicked on a link, and when you clicked on it, you got a message that says you must have permission? Have you seen that? And that's because the person who put that there used that address at the top, and that is not a shareable link. Now, if I went to a website and got the little www dot, that's where I would go. But inside Google, you do not go grab that link at the top because that is not a shareable link. So if I want to share this someplace, I've got to go get the shareable link. And so right here it says share with others, get the shareable link. And when I click on that, it expands and there's the link. It already highlights it blue for you. Just don't go get the one at the top in the omnibox. Now, whenever it highlights that, Google defaults this to a canned view, which is like a PDF, which is really nice, okay? So it defaults that this is automatically going to be a PDF, and so if I link this out there, nobody can click on it and do anything. They can just read it. But I can change that. There's a drop-down arrow right there beside, and now I can say anyone with the link can edit. Be extremely careful with that. That means anybody who gets that link can do anything they want to that document, including delete it. It's giving them full co-ownership. Okay? I can also say anyone with the link can comment, which means they can't do anything to the body of the document, but they can leave little post-it notes over on the side. Okay? We're going to look at that in a second. All right. So this is one way that I can share this document. But let's say that I don't want to share it this way. Let's let's say that I only want to share it with one person or a group of people, and I don't want the whole world to see this document, right? So let's say that, I just totally lost your name again. Griffith, what's your first name? Rebecca. Let's say that I'm going to share this document with Rebecca, okay? So that it's something that we're working on for the English department, okay? Or maybe it's a homework assignment that we've been given. So whatever this is, I don't want to give everybody access. I only want to give Rebecca access to this. So if that's the case, I'm going to go down to where it says people, and I'm going to put Rebecca's email address in. Okay? So if I go down here and I type RB, thank you.
Okay.
Griffin or Griffin?
Griffin.
Alright, so I've got Rebecca's email address in here, and I can now go up here and decide what I want Rebecca to be able to do to this document. Down here, the default is can edit, because Google assumes that if I'm going to go to the extent of putting somebody's email address in there, I'm probably getting ready to collaborate with that person, okay? But I can change that too. I can click on that pencil and say, no, I only want her to be able to comment, or I only just need her to view it, okay? I can also go right here where it says add a note. So after I put a person's email address in there, I also get this little box, and I can actually go in there and write an email to her right here. Because, you know, whenever I send this in a second, she's actually going to have two ways to get to this document. Okay? First, she gets an email. You'll use are you still using Office 365, or did you switch to Gmail? So she can go to her Gmail and get that email, right? Or where else can she go if somebody shares something with her? Where can I go if somebody shares something with me?
Share the thing.
Share with me. So look up here, guys. And this right here is like the hardest concept for teachers to understand. Okay? So hang with me on this. When somebody shares something with me, it has to go someplace. And anybody, anywhere in the world who gets my email address can share something with me. Just like if somebody gets your home address, they can send you mail in the mail, right? You get junk mail home because they got your address, right? Same thing with this. As long as somebody gets your address, your email address, you can get junk mail. You get junk mail in your email account, don't you? You can get anything sent to you at any time. Now, let me explain something with this shared with me. You're going to see really quick here in a minute, if you haven't figured out already, I'm extremely OCD. Very OCD, so a lot of things bother me. And this thing right here bothers me. And whenever I first started using Google, this about tore me up. If you go to the shared with me, you can't organize that. Earlier this year, on January 1st it says earlier this year, and on December 31st it still says earlier this year, and nothing in there is organized, and nothing, anybody who wants to send me something is going to load, they send me stuff all year long, and I can't do anything about it, okay? I cannot handle that. You can't do anything with that. Let me explain to you what that shared with me is. Here in this building and in every other school across the nation has a mailroom. You got those little pigeonholes, don't you? With your name on it. On the first day of school, your principal gives you like the bell schedule and the activity schedule and the lunch schedule and all those things that we need, right, to function. And they're in a piece of paper and they're in that little mailbox. So on day one, you go down there and you got that mail. But you've also got some junk mail in there, like news, like the Scholastic, whatever, and the Time magazines, and all that other stuff that we get. So you got a little stack of mail in there. And you go in there and you pull out that little stack of mail, and you got the good stuff and you got junk. And so I look at it, but I take that little stack and I put it back in that mailbox and I go empty-handed back to my classroom. There's one of you in every room, I promise. I was waiting to see which person said, I knew that. And then you go back the next day, it's like, oh, I don't know what activity, or I don't know when lunch is, or oh, they changed the bell schedule on me. And so now you got to go back to the mailroom. And now that stack's a little bit bigger, because you got more mail. And you pull the bigger stack out, and you go find out when your activity is, but then you take that whole stack, and you put it back in that mailbox, and you go empty-handed back to your classroom. And then the next day, you need to know. You get what I'm saying? And you go back to that mailroom, and you got a big stack. Wouldn't it make more sense? Let me help you out here. Wouldn't it make more sense that if there's something that's valuable that you need, you're going to take that back to your classroom and pin it to the cork board, or you're going to put it in a file folder and get yourself organized, and you're going to throw that junk away, right? That makes more sense, doesn't it, than running every day back to the mailroom. The shared with me is your mailroom. Anybody can share anything they want at any time with you, and it's going to go to that shared with me folder. Watch what you need to do, and listen very closely to this. Let's say that somebody shared something with me. Let me go find something that looks valuable. Oh, this is a good one. Google Classroom for Littles. So elementary, that's a really good book. Google Classroom for Littles. Let's say that I want this one, okay? So I'm going to turn it blue. It turned blue. That looks like turned blue. But it turned blue. And I need, that one's really good, so I'm going to take it back to my classroom with